We're here in the studio here today with what is nearly the stock Tom Morello setup. This is the Marshall JCM 800 2205 50-watt head with channel switching and with the name blocked out so that no endorsements are given or asked for. This is not my cabinet. Normally I have a 4x12 PV cabinet that I use that sounds like my sound. This is the cabinet they had here at the offices of Guitar World, which we're using today, which is going to sound pretty close, but it's not exactly what I use. As far as the pedals go, there's a ancient early 80s Crybaby wah-wah pedal there. I believe it's missing one little hoof. The original Digitech whammy pedal, indispensable to making pterodactyl noises. The Boss digital delay pedal there. The DoD equalizer pedal, which is only used when I wish to go to 11. It's just flat across, as you can see, and then this goes up a little bit. It also has the sweat guard on it there. When I'm playing a rocking show in a hot venue, the pedals would sometimes short out, and you can't have that, so that's my tech, put a sweat guard on that for personal hygiene as well. And then the MXR Phase 90, which I really don't use for anything, but it sits there, and it's a beautiful orange pedal at the end of the line there. As far as guitars go, we've got two here today, but this is the Soul Power guitar, which has been my primary guitar for all of the Audioslave songs and concerts for songs that are tuned in regular 440. And for the drop D portion of our demonstrations today, we've got the new Gibson Les Paul that I've been using on the latest record, Revelations. When it comes to like sort of creating new sound, I never really kind of go into the process going, and now I will create a new sound. It's just in messing around on the guitar, it's sort of different. It's concentrating on the happy accidents and the eccentricities that just sort of occur, and rather than letting that go by as a glitch or as sort of a one-off, I'll practice something. So if I were, I don't know, just set the delay sort of at a random setting and then step on it, would sort of see what that sounds like. Okay, that kind of has like sort of a slap-backy sound. So the first thing, and then it's just, I have a very, very simple setup, but by sort of manipulating in different ways, we can see what happens. So that's on kind of a slap-back delay. So what if we were to use the toggle switch with the slap-back delay? What might occur? And that's sort of an interesting whatever. Then we might see what happens if we click on a little wah with that. Alrighty, that's something that could end up as music down the line. When I started using the toggle switch as a picking technique, it was on a guitar that had two volume knobs. One of them turned to 10, the other turned to 0, and by flicking between the two pickups, that caused the on-off switch. This guitar was not designed with two volume knobs or a toggle switch, so I had this one put on. But it can work on any guitar that has two pickups and a volume knob for each pickup. So. Right. This one is customized, but you do not need a customized guitar in order to do the toggle switching. The whammy pedal for me was a great invention because I never had the patience. Like when you get your original record deal, you get a couple of $1,000s to spend on gear. So everyone runs down to Guitar Center and buys boxes of stuff that blink. Well, of course, I did that too, and then I didn't have the patience to read any of the manuals and plugged them in, and they drained all the sound out. It just sounded kind of crappy. So when I heard that there was a harmonizer in a stomp box, I thought, well, I got to get me one of those. And it was right around the time of the beginnings of Rage Against the Machine, where I was basically designated to be the band's DJ. And I found with some very simple manipulations of a very simple pedal that all of a sudden the guitar, for me, was finding a lot of very new sonic possibilities. I mean, the most sort of obvious one, which was, and one thing I've also always had the sort of the credo with my pedals, like, subtlety isn't so high on my list of things to go. It's like I used to go, when you first go into a guitar store and you try a delay pedal, you turn all the knobs up and it sounds crazy and it's beautiful and awesome. Then later on, you're playing in a band, so you got to ratchet everything back for a little analog sustain. I always kept my mindset with the first trip to the guitar store to see how crazy it would get. And a lot of things with the whammy pedal, it's the 2 octaves up help to really emulate that kind of Southern California gangster rap sound. And it's like, you know, Dr. Dre was very influential in. There's like 4 notes like that with a hip-hop groove underneath it, all of a sudden, you know, changed the way that I looked at music. And I started studying very much more DJs rather than guitar players and trying to emulate those sounds. When you want to rock hard, children, lean on F sharp. Just octaves on F sharp that just bounce the field. And then there's a little riff that goes. And that's the verse group, which is played with the somewhere on the sweep of the wah there for extra menace. That was sort of like Ghetto Boys. That's what we were going for on that. Was sort of like a Ghetto Boys menacing Houston 6th Ward sound on that. Again, it leans on the octaves a lot, but then adds in the sort of the dissonant notes. On the first chord, I'm just playing those 2 notes and muting the ones in between into the octave. The A string's never played in that. Bulls on Parade. Very simply, I just turn on this, you know, goes to 11 box there. Have the wah-wah pedal on to add like sort of extra sort of a white noise. It's because if you're going to do some scratching stuff, it's the high end's better. Turn the pickup selector to maximum rock power, and then just kind of I use the, you know, this hand is the scratcher, and then nothing happens. And it goes like that. Leave the full treble on. And the tonal changes come from, you know, where, you know, the left hand's rubbing on the string. It's less kind of about this is how a thing is done. It's more kind of about just like having a disregard for the tradition of the instrument, and that this is just a piece of wood. It's 6 wires. It's a few electronics, you know. And you know, I was writing down notes to a song one day, and I had a pencil in my hand. And I had the, you know, the delay pedal set to short delay, and then. I mean, that's not particularly rocket science. It's a pencil and a delay pedal, but. This was the 2003 helicopter version, which is, again, the delay pedal set to short delay, sort of a slapback delay. The whammy pedal set to an octave below. And then I just use pick in mouth and right hand to just sort of baby slap the strings while manipulating the pedal. that's just made to sound more voluptuous by the short delay, the slapback delay. Cochise may have a bridge part where actually the phase 90 gets used, which is the guitar that I have at my home that I practice on, the guitar that I write songs with, is a nylon string acoustic guitar. You know, the biggest riffs are written on that guitar there, and it's like I now know, like it can be 3 a.m. and sitting with the dogs laying by the fireplace there and play some riff and just know what it's going to feel like at a festival show with us rocking that riff and 60,000 people jumping up and down. You know, like that's absolutely the case with the song "Sleep Now in the Fire," where I came up with that riff and actually was jamming with some other friends of mine and stopped everything, got the little tape recorder, Bruce said, no, that's gonna be good later on, and then and just knew from the beginning when those notes came out that was gonna be one that was gonna be a crowd pleaser down the line. This is the riff that just sort of came out of the ether. It's the A an octave, pulling a bit on that. Basically just sort of holding that note through the whole verse. We let the Jimmy Castor Bunch riff roll on. Zack does the lyrics on top of it, and then it drops back in as hugely as possible, etc. Again, you want to bump up to 11 for this one, kids, because you're going to need some sustain. Normally this is one that's played on the Arm the Homeless guitar, but I'm going to do my best with the old soul power. And I'll be accessing some feedback by getting right up against it, and then employing the old toggles. A little something like this. What's happening when my back is turned to you is that I am, with my right hand using the toggle switch and with my left hand manipulating the whammy bar to manipulate the pitch of the feedback. That is what is happening. Strings are open. Strings are basically open. You cross your fingers and you hope for a nice, sweet note to do it on. The first riff of the song is just the descending tension builder. And then the verse continues quite simply. Chocolate thunder occurs in this part. More chocolate. More thunder. The second half of the verse is just employ a muted string chukka technique thusly. Etc. for chukka flavor. It's down chuck. Yeah, you chose not to up chuck. Sounds almost identical. You can chuck any way you want, really. It's not going to hold you back one way or the other. Chorus erupts with... monkeys begin to laugh. This is the monkey laughter solo. Cats, there's one where the cat's being chased around the room. Yeah, but then the monkey's laughing is entirely different. I'm sort of the old McDonald of, we're in the primate house now when it comes to the monkeys laughing. And that is we go to 11 because it's a guitar solo. The wah-wah pedal is deployed. The whammy bar is depressed to make the strings slack. And then the little monkeys are slapped against the pickups while they're being wah-wah'd. And rumor has it that monkeys are satisfied, and I hope you are too. When I was practicing 8 hours a day religiously, I divided it up in kind of like 2-hour chunks. It'd be 2 hours spent on technique, 2 hours spent on what my understanding of music theory was, and some of it was out of a book, but a lot of it was just puzzling on notes and intervals and what works and what doesn't work. 2 hours was just jamming along with the radio or with albums, never learning songs. I always shied away from learning songs because I wanted to sort of maintain. That's sort of the traditional way that guitar players learn songs. And at the time I was playing in some cover bands, and it was very important to me in my practice to not have learning songs be part of it, to be something that was just mine, And then the last part was either songwriting or working with sounds and textures or playing with my effects pedals for 2 hours a day. And now, like when I do my practice, now I look at, that was really working guitar. Now when I play guitar, and it's for enjoyment and creativity. When there's like woodshedding now, or before we go in to make a record, or before a tour begins, or before I go in to play solos, basically it's about limbering my fingers. I've got kind of the technique somewhere in there, and it's about finding a way to bring it to the surface. And a lot of that is just doing like really like sort of fluid hammer-on triplets. After feeling a little bit more limber, then employing the same kind of triplet, runs to, say, a minor pentatonic scale. Like. Just sort of improvising around that. What I like to do, though, because that sounds kind of clean and cut and dry, is just throw the delay on, and all of a sudden you're at the circus. It's a lot more fun, of course. Same exercise. Maybe get a little bit less out of it technically, but it's kind of like eating candy. The song actually starts with the big power chords, though. It starts with a... I like to put on the phase 90 to thrill the children. Then next up, we've got the chorus, the breakdown section. Revolutionary words are spoken in that. The chorus is about to drop. Then it builds. And then I kind of on the sort of the breakdown section of the pre-chorus, I normally just sort of improvise on the chuckas and whatnot to heighten the. That's where we pull the bowstring back. Pull the bowstring back. The guitar solo has the whammy pedal set to 2 octaves up, and is played thusly.